Dr. Ashley is going to draw on me. So yes, I will take my shirt off, but not all of it.
Don't everyone cheer at the same time, okay?
I know. Nobody even cheered for me.
I know.
I was expecting someone was going to give a cheer.
Your wife
Thank you for that.
If your wife wasn't here, there would have been cheering.
Yeah, I was like,
Thank you for that. I've been doing.
I feel bad.
Man, do you just feel bad about that? I've been doing sit-ups for like 9 weeks to get ready for this class. Nobody even cheered.
Oh no, so I was just going, thinking, whoa.
I know that in order to really help people understand what it is that we do, we have to be fun and creative. Agree? So that's why we're going to do something a little bit different today. And here's what I know, okay? So I'm going to open up really heavy right now and lay it on you, and then we'll lighten up, and then we'll probably close pretty heavy. But here's what I know, all right? I know that the work that we do at Pangea, unfortunately, is never done. There's constantly going to be struggles and battles in teaching people how to live an optimally functioning life because people don't change their paradigm very easily. They don't change their religion very easily, they don't change their belief systems very easily, and they sure don't change their beliefs on their health very easily. So this is a non-stop, never-ending engagement that we have to have on a regular basis, just like being a mom. Like, being a mom is never really done. Right? My mom lives on the other side of the country, and she still wants to send me goulash in the mail. I'm not even joking. So the job is never really done, which to me makes me feel like we've got something good. Because if there's an end, then you have to ask yourself, why is there an end? Have you achieved everything? And in moving in the spectrum of health, if there's an end, then what are we moving towards? We have to keep striving to be better because there are things in this world that are going to beat us down and make us worse if we're not constantly working to achieve optimal function. Do you guys agree? I also believe that when Dr. Ashley and I created Pangea, every single thing we did here was we wanted to make it just like Disneyland for people. And I don't know how much you know about Disney. I'm going to tell you a story at the end. But Disneyland, Walt Disney wanted to create a space for children and parents to come together to have fun. We wanted to create a space for children and parents and families to come together to get healthy. So it's not that far off from what Walt was doing. Okay? And that's our model. And it became very obvious to me last year when I was teaching a carpal tunnel class. A woman came here and she had carpal tunnel really badly. And she was diagnosed with it. And guess how many surgeries she had had?
3.
2. She had 2 surgeries, and the condition was still there. And she showed up, and she wasn't even a patient. She saw it on Facebook, and she came, and she started care. She's not in care any longer. She started care, and in the process of starting care, she referred us patients who still are here. And it's really awesome to me that she came here seeking one thing, but she shared something with other people. So in her mind, and I know this to be true, she was thinking, what can I do for people who I love? What can I do for them so that they can experience life more fully? And for her, she referred people here. And she didn't refer people here for carpal tunnel syndrome. She referred people here for all types of different things. So it became very obvious to me that every time I have an opportunity to speak to people in the community, it's an opportunity for you guys to think how you can serve others. And a lot of times we find out when we get to where we're going, we're there not for ourselves, we're there for other people. And sometimes other people show up for us. You know what I'm talking about? All right. So I'm just going to tell you right now my hope and what I hope to get from you at the end of this is for you to understand that carpal tunnel syndrome is only a symptom. It's absolutely nothing to do with what's really going on. It's a symptom for something else. So along the way, if you're dealing with carpal tunnel syndrome or you know someone who's dealing with carpal tunnel syndrome, this can be an opportunity for them to look at their health differently. And I told you it's not going to be easy. It's going to be really hard because the work's never done. And their paradigm for health is probably way different than yours might be. And I think a good model is to look at what experts tell us, okay? So experts tell us that if you're going to sell someone something, and please understand that selling is not bad. Selling is a good thing. I sell my wife that I love her every day, right? You probably sell your beautiful daughter that you love her every day. And you probably sell your dog that you're her owner and you're going to take care of her, right? Yeah. So we sell every day. But in sales, in actually selling someone, a piece of paper, the magic number is 13. If you present a sale to someone 13 times, they're probably either going to give in or they're eventually you're not going to want to go back to them to sell them. So I think if people come to 13 classes a year, that they're going to have a really, really good idea of why they're coming. Because that's when we get to go deep with you. So I tell people, come 13 times a year, and you're going to know why you're here. If you don't come to class, you're probably going to struggle with why chiropractic is a pathway towards health and vitality. So my hope for you is that by the end of this class, you can give me an idea of where I can teach. It might be a church, it might be a school, it might be a book club. I don't care. If you give me an opportunity, I'll show up, because that's how passionate I am. So those of you in the room, you have 15 minutes from now to think of where we can serve our community in the future. That's it. And it's not going to be hard. Just bring up an idea. Okay? So, contrary to popular belief, carpal tunnel syndrome is not caused by excessive use of the computer. Fact. It's actually caused by poor posture. Now, there are certain instances that carpal tunnel syndrome can show up and be really aggravated from certain jobs, like knitting too much. But guess what happens when people knit or paint? How's the rest of their body look? Good or bad?
Yeah, poor posture.
It's really always bad. I've never seen someone knit with perfect posture, ever in my life. I've also never seen someone run a jackhammer with good posture. But I know that people who run jackhammers all day that work for the city of Bend, these people have carpal tunnel syndrome. But they also have it because they're in this position hammering away all day. So please understand that you do not have a sentence for carpal tunnel syndrome based upon your job. You don't have to. It just so happens that it's very common for certain jobs to be associated with this. Is that cool? You guys understand what I'm talking about? So it's not necessarily that typing is going to cause carpal tunnel syndrome. I want to get that out because a lot of people believe that they have carpal tunnel syndrome because they have a desk job. It's not true. It's your posture while you're sitting that's really aggravating it. Alrighty? So, does anybody know someone who has been diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome? I'm not asking you if you have it, but yeah. So it's extremely common, and what I want you to understand that it is my belief through the research that I've done that the majority of the time it is misdiagnosed. And here's how I know. Because most of the people that I see have had 1, 2, 3 surgeries, and they still have it. And you got to ask yourself, how could that possibly be? If that was the problem, then that should fix it. Would you agree?
Sure.
So, I know that it's not always the answer. And I do believe that modern medicine fails miserably with carpal tunnel. I do believe that. I'm not telling you that there might not be a case warranted for it. I just do believe that most commonly it does fail. Okay? I'm not picking on them. It's just the truth. All right? If you only operate on wrists, what might everyone who has a wrist problem have?
A wrist problem.
A wrist problem. Thank you.
Great. We only concentrate on wrist.
We spend an awful lot of time
Yeah, I
together.
know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
If the only place that you operate is on the wrist, then everyone might have a wrist problem. Someone might say, hey doc, you're a chiropractor, so you think everyone has a back problem. And I say, yeah, I do think that most people have problems with their spine and problems with their brain because of the way and the things that we do on a regular basis. So I do believe that, and I can defend that, okay? The symptoms are very obvious. Numbness, tingling, swelling, all these terrible things. I don't like to focus on symptoms, so let's go to the next page. Now here's my buddy who drives the jackhammer. But notice what I said, that most times this is misdiagnosed. Okay? Also, the number one cause of carpal tunnel is poor posture. When I show you a couple of these next slides, you're going to get the idea. Of course, there are situations where people can have hypo or hyperthyroidism, or they can have pituitary problems. So this is a small gland up in the brain, and it controls and regulates a lot of different hormones in your body. And if the hormonal system gets out of balance, we can see all types of symptoms. Also, women who are on contraceptives, changes the hormones, they're oftentimes diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome. And you're thinking, how the heck could a 16-year-old get diagnosed with carpal tunnel syndrome? And it's hormonal. There's dysregulation, or the body is not functioning the way it was designed to, so now symptoms are showing up. Also, things like pregnancy. Has anyone ever heard of carpal tunnel syndrome showing up during pregnancy? Body's got a lot more fluid in it. Vascularity is growing and swelling. So it is common. Okay? It's not normal, but it is common. And then you have all these other issues like autoimmune disease and fluid retention and diabetes. Holy cow. Did you guys know that someone who has stress on a chronic basis is setting themselves up for future diabetes? Did you guys know that? I'll do this process with you in 30 seconds. If you live in a chronic state of stress, your body can't tell the difference whether you're just stressed out because of your job or your relationships at home versus someone chasing you with a baseball bat and is going to hit you over the head with it. It's the same stress. And when your body is running, or you're going away to defend yourself against an intruder, do you think that your body needs to let go of more sugar as fuel or less sugar as fuel? More sugar as fuel. So the body floods the system with sugars so that you can have energy to run and escape the intruder. Now, if you live every day in chronic stress, guess what your body's releasing more readily? Sugars. And your body then loses its ability to regulate and create insulin because you have chronic overload of sugar to the system. So stress is the #1 precursor for diabetes. I totally believe that. Okay? If you, and we got to hold that whole conversation over diabetes, right? Whew. And I think that was important that we went over that. Okay? So let's get into the fun part here. So here's what the carpal tunnel looks like. And the actual tunnel itself, we're going to look at your wrist. The tunnel itself is a kind of rubbery band that goes right across here like a bracelet. Okay? Everyone with me? You can say it right here. Here's a picture of it. It's a fibrous ligament, or I'm sorry, like ligament tendon that comes across. It's not a ligament, it's a tendon. It's a tendon that comes across here, and it forms a tunnel for nerves and arteries to pass through. All right? Here's the distribution of the median nerve. The median nerve is the nerve that gets irritated when you have carpal tunnel. True carpal tunnel. Remember, I told you a lot of these times it is not real carpal tunnel syndrome. So the median nerve is the guy who gets squished and creates all the tingling and numbness. Has anyone ever hit their funny bone? What happens?
Ow.
Ow. Do you ever hit your funny bone, Ella?
Yeah.
I don't know about you getting your funny bone.
Perfect. You ever hit your funny bone? What happens to the hand?
No.
It goes numb and it goes zing. That would be what it is like if you have true carpal tunnel syndrome, because there's pressure on a nerve. When you hit your funny bone, you buzz the ulnar nerve as it comes right underneath the elbow, and you doink it, and it goes and it starts to buzz, and what fingers go numb? You guys remember? Yeah, it's the last two, because that's the ulnar nerve. The median nerve is these three, and that's true carpal tunnel syndrome. So if you have zinging down these two fingers, you definitely don't have carpal tunnel syndrome, because the ulnar nerve doesn't go through the carpal tunnel. See, you guys are already going to be pros. You can diagnose your friends and family. Isn't that what you want to do?
Do that.
Tell people what's wrong with them? Don't do that, it doesn't work. Okay, so here's our median nerve friend. Here's the ulnar nerve. That's the funny bone nerve. It goes to these fingers. Here's the median nerve. Now, who wants to take a guess where the median nerve comes from? Because I'm all into the source of issues. So who wants to guess where the median nerve comes from?
I'm going to guess spine.
You're guessing correctly. Because all nerves do come from the spine.
Oh, yeah, very good.
You're so smart.
Very good.
Okay, so you're correct. It comes from the spine. So we follow the nerve from the fingers all the way up through all these different organs and through all these different muscles and through all these different tendons. And the nerve comes up here and it forms a bundle, and we go all the way up here and it comes out of the spine. This is crazy, isn't it? And you should probably be thinking to yourself right now, so if I have carpal tunnel syndrome, could I actually have a what? A problem with my spine. And I would look at you and I would say 100%. And I have people who come into my office all the time, and tell me they have carpal tunnel syndrome, and I look at them and I go, okay, that's great, I'm getting all this information. I go, when's the last time you had your neck checked? And they look at me like I'm
Crazy.
crazy. Thank you, Nancy. And I am crazy.
It's a good crazy.
I say, when's the last time someone looked at your neck? And they go, never. And I'm like, okay, interesting. And I don't tell them why, because when I do my report with them, I show them, and then they go, oh my gosh, I should have been here 5 years ago. And I go, I agree. You should have been here 15 years ago. Okay? It comes from the neck. The problem is that I would say most, I don't know numbers, most of the people who have had carpal tunnel syndrome, who do you think got their neck checked? Maybe none of them. I don't know. A lot of them definitely didn't.
No, because they think it's here.
You're totally right, Nancy. You're a great chiropractor. The nerves from C5 to T1 form the median nerve. I think now would be a good time to show you that this is where the numbness and tingling lives, out here. And I know that, there we go again. And I know that there's one way that people learn is by seeing things. So, beautiful artists.
Yeah, I got this.
You might,
Is it Sharpie? Yeah, I got
you
it.
might have no idea why you're in class today, but you will remember this moment for the rest of your life, and that's what I want. I want you to remember things for the rest of your life. Dr. Ashley is going to take a marker, and she's going to draw on me, so that you can never forget this for the rest of your
Well,
life.
first thing, everything comes to the brain, so let's make that promise.
She's going to give me a bath later.
From the
Sponge bath.
spinal cord.
Please.
It's not gonna happen. Alright. Okay, so we need a bridge off of C5. Thank you. C6 nerve, C7, C8, and then the T1 nerve root. So these actually all come together and make nerve bundles called your brachial plexus. So let's all have those run together. So this leaves,
Okay.
I'm not going to draw down the arm.
Okay.
But then when we get here, it breaks apart, and that median nerve is going to run down through here, and, well, it actually dips down, and then comes around.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I just want them to know that this one isn't real. It actually dips in and then comes back around. From there, it comes down, comes right through, right inoculum, right? Comes right through
the tunnel.
right through the tunnel, and then it divides out into the thumb, into the index, into the middle finger. And then it actually does come, and there's a little tiny nerve that just comes on just the very inside of that ring finger as well. Don't look at this one.
That's a beautiful drawing, Dr. Ashley.
Thank you. That's just the median nerve. If you want me to do the rest, I can do the ulnar nerve too. If you want me to do another,
I
I
think
can do
that
the
this is
radial
perfect.
nerve.
You guys will,
No.
now for
Can
the
we
rest
do
of your
another?
life, remember that anybody who has carpal tunnel syndrome needs to do what? They need to get their neck checked. I don't care if I check it. I don't care if the guy down the street checks it. I don't care who checks it.
I'll step a check.
Someone needs to check their neck. Now, everyone needs to get their neck checked. Because would you rather have a brain problem or a back problem?
Brain.
Whoa.
Brain and back.
How?
Well, it goes quick.
Like same
Neither. What if I told you that a back problem is a brain problem and a brain problem is a back problem? Would you agree? Because the brain stem and the spinal cord is part of what? Yeah, where does it come from?
Brain.
The brain.
The brain.
It's attached to the brain. It's just a piece of the brain. The spinal cord is basically brain. So if you have a back problem, you also have a brain problem because it's putting pressure on the spinal cord or brain stem, which is affecting the brain. You can't have one without the other. It was a trick question. Tricked you, I'm sorry. But now you're smarter. A back problem is a brain problem, and a brain problem is a back problem. But when I ask people this in the community, what do you think that they would rather have?
A back problem.
A back problem. I don't want a brain problem. It make me crazy. Okay? I want to have a back problem. No, I don't. I don't want either. Okay? But they're the same thing. You will forever, for the rest of your life, remember seeing Dr. Ashley draw on me, and you will now forever, for the rest of your life, know that the median nerve comes out of the neck. And every single person who has poor posture, because poor posture is the #1 cause of carpal tunnel syndrome. I know. What are you looking at? Okay. There are other situations where something is called a double crush syndrome. It's not necessary that we beat this one up too much, but it's two problems. It's double. So you have poor posture and you have a neck problem, and you also have a nerve problem down here. Okay? Sometimes people come into my office and they say, I got diagnosed by a double crush syndrome. I've never had that diagnosis from a medical doctor, by the way. PTs, physical therapists, diagnose double crush and chiropractors because we know that multiple things can be going on. Okay? So it's when you have a neck problem and maybe you run a jackhammer at the same time. So now you have two issues going on, and the problem will never go away until you address both issues, starting upstream with the neck, is my opinion. Okay? And that's how we explain it. Now there's also something else really cool that chiropractors do and nobody else does, and that's adjust bones. We adjust every bone in the body. So we do adjust wrists. Has anybody ever had their wrist adjusted? Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing because if you use your hands a lot, oftentimes the bones of the wrist, the 8 bones of the wrist, start to get misaligned, just like your spine does. And if certain bones in the wrist misalign, they can also put pressure on, guess what? The median nerve. And they can flatten out that tunnel, and they can turn a tunnel like this into a tunnel like that. And the bigger the tunnel is, the happier the nerve is. Would you agree? So a chiropractor will adjust your wrists, and I have never met a medical doctor who has any idea how to adjust their wrists. I'm not picking on them, I'm just telling you that there are alternatives. You guys know that. You guys know that. You guys want to learn something really cool? Go like this. Good. If you know someone who has carpal tunnel syndrome, and they're very stubborn and won't go to a chiropractor, you're going to be a hero when you teach them how to do this. They're going to go like this, and you're going to take a piece of tape, and you're going to tape their wrist like that, so that their hand is in this position. Just take a piece of tape, whatever, masking tape, duct tape, electric tape, doesn't matter. And tape their hand like that, and look what just happened. You made a tunnel. You went from this to that, and you made a tunnel, and the majority of the time, they're going to get relief from this. So you just tape it, and that way they can still use their hands, but they have the tunnel restored. The second thing you can do to help them is you can teach them how to traction the wrist. It's very simple, and I have no problem teaching you that. You grab a hold of their wrist like their friend, and you just hold their wrist, and you say, lean back. And they lean back, and they are going to go, oh, and they're going to sing soprano for you. It's beautiful. Just a basic traction. Okay? She's a beautiful singer. Just basic traction and taping is going to resolve a lot of the issues until you can get them to come see me. Okay? Now, remember we talked about posture? Which side of the picture is a good neck curve, the left or the right?
Left.
The left. Nice, everyone got that right. Because the neck is supposed to have a 40-degree curve in it. And this neck has a what? A curve that goes which direction? The wrong direction. And guess what comes out of the neck right there? Which nerves?
Oh, that.
The nerves that go down to control my wrist. Okay? So you can't effectively treat this condition until you look at the neck. And that's the number one thing I want you to leave with here with tonight. Not how good my biceps are. Okay? Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate your laughing. It meant a lot to me. Here are some other alternatives that you can help someone with. And I promise you, if you do what I'm telling you tonight, or you share this with someone who's stubborn and won't get the message, they will show improvement. I promise you this. Okay? You love that one, don't you? Put that in there for you. If you get adjusted, you're going to get results. If you add some of these supplemental things in at home, you will get results. Okay? Vitamin B6 and B12. I'm not going to go into details, but they support the nerve. Okay? There's been tons of research on how B6 can help, really cure and resolve some carpal tunnel syndrome. Only if there's a B6 and B12 deficiency, though. But it does work wonders if there is a B12 and B6 deficiency. So get on B12 and B6. Magnesium is beautiful, too, because it relaxes muscles. And if muscles are tight around the median nerve, guess what? They're going to give you that sensation that you might have carpal tunnel syndrome. So you can use magnesium lotions or you can drink magnesium tea. Bromelain, which is found in what fruit? Who knows?
Pineapple.
Yes. I knew you would know that. Pineapple. Bromelain is a really cool enzyme that helps fight inflammation in the body, and it does a lot of other wonders for your body. So bromelain, you can get it from pineapple, or you can supplement with it. Definitely, if you have carpal tunnel syndrome, be a hero and tell your friend to stop eating sugar, because they're going to get better results because you've decreased their inflammation. Rest, ice, compress, and elevate. That's what RICE stands for. Rest, ice, compress, elevate. These are all things that are going to help people who have carpal tunnel syndrome. Can anyone think of why fish oil might help?
The fat.
The fat, because the omega-3s do what? Anti-inflammatory. So get on a good fish oil.
What would you, so my carpal tunnel came when I gave up butter, and I eat a lot of butter. And when I gave it up, my carpal tunnel came, and for 6 months we couldn't get it better.
Yeah.
And my vegan practitioner finally was like, I never thought I'd say this. Go back to butter. And within 2 weeks, gone.
Yeah, it probably had something to do with your fats. You probably didn't have enough good fats in your body. I mean, nerves and spinal cord and brain are made out of fats. So we have to get fats. I mean, we love butter. We love butter. We just eat good organic butter. We love it. We eat lots of it.
I got like 2 tablespoons of this stuff.
Yeah.
Butter is great. Okay? Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory herb. Boswellia, ginger, these are all great. Frankincense, of course, the essential ladies, my essential oil.
No, I'm just.
Master.
No.
Okay. Other ones that I researched, I love essential oils too. So wintergreen, cypress, and helichrysum. These are also good ones to rub over the area and should definitely give some good results. Back to the beginning. I told you I was going to come back to Walt Disney. Okay? Walt Disney, when he opened up Disneyland, he wanted to create a space for families, moms and dads and kids to come together to have the best experience they've ever had. Has anybody been to Disneyland or Disney World? Every single person in the room. Have you been there?
Oh, not this one.
Yeah, not this one either. Not the too young ones.
Almost all of us in the room have been there. Okay?
Start fun.
Sorry.
We've almost all been there. And we went there. Our families took off work. They saved money. I know how much it costs to go to Disneyland because one of my patients just went and she told me. And it was not cheap. We take time off work. We invest this time because we know that when we get there, we're going to have fun with our families. And we're willing to make that investment. So when Walt Disney decided he wanted to open up Disneyland, the very first day that Disneyland opened, he sat up on a perch with his best friend, and he was watching the people flood in there, and he started crying. And his friend looked at him, and he said, "What's the matter, Walt?" And he said, "We should have bought more property around the area, because this is going to be huge. We underestimated how the magnitude of this space was going to impact millions and millions of lives around the world." And he said, "We need more space." The first day. Isn't that insane? That's amazing. At one point, Disney employed more people than any other company in the United States. 62,000 people were employed by this vision that Walt had. That's amazing. Okay? Hundreds of millions of people have had the best time that they've ever had in their life at Disneyland. Because people ask kids, they say, "What's the best time you've ever had in your life?" And they say what? Disneyland. Okay? The vision for Pangea is to create that for people. And I know that this isn't Disneyland, but at the end of the day, the chiropractic adjustment saves lives. And I'm not over-exaggerating that comment. And I can give you dozens and dozens of different examples of how it's saved lives. The chiropractic adjustment can do that. And if we don't share that with people, then we've sold ourselves and our community short. And I believe that. And that's why my work is never done. And it's really a challenge. So whether you're referring someone in who has carpal tunnel syndrome and they won't listen to you, or whether you're referring someone in who has migraines, or whether you're referring someone in who has suicidal thoughts and doesn't know if they want to live, these are all examples of people who've seen life-changing things happen by a chiropractic adjustment. And it's not anything I do, it's everything that their body does, as we remove pressure off of the vital nerves that control life. And that's beautiful. So I'm asking you to share it. I'll come to your book club and tell that story. Is that fair? The difference is up to you guys. So for every single thing that we face in life, there are unlimited possibilities of how to handle it. Would you agree? Unlimited. But it all comes down to two choices. You may have unlimited possibilities of how you want to deal with it, but at the end of the day, you get two choices. And those two choices are the right thing or the wrong thing. Would you guys agree? It all comes down to right or wrong. And asking you to just give someone the opportunity to make the right choice. Because if you don't know, you don't know. And the most dangerous people in the world are ones who don't know that they don't know. I want you guys to give me an idea of where I can teach. Who wants to go first? Rotary.
My rotary.
Hey, you're Rotary.
Yeah. They're so sick.
They're so sick.
And they eat the worst breakfast every morning. And everyone's like, why don't you eat breakfast? I was like, this is trash. But every Friday morning, we go and we congregate together as a community. And then everyone sits down and eats like the grossest
Bad food.
Yeah, it's so terrible.
Calissa, where's the place we can teach this? Hurry up, I'm hungry.
I was thinking, what?
Hurry up.
Just thinking, my first idea was REI or just local church.
Yeah.
About like a massage class. Just call it college, talk to a massage teacher and ask if you can come in and present.
Perfect.
Or
Oh, that's
sage.
good.
Perfect. You're going to remember all these, right?
Are you writing this down?
Okay. She's mental.
She's
Not
What do you think,
a
Randy?
podcast coordinator.
Where can we tell people the story?
I'm even thinking high school athletes.
High school
Yeah.
athletes. We're actually putting together a concussion class.
Yeah.
We're going to be the first
Oh, no.
people in the community that rent a huge space and invite parents to come and learn about concussions.
Good.
We're going to do it. It's going to happen soon.
That's cool.
We're already working on it. Any other ideas? Tess?
Would you be willing to do it in a homeless shelter?
Yeah,
Bethlehem Inn?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we do monthly service already.
Can you help me set that up?
Ooh.
I will talk to them.
Help me set it up. All you got to do is say, hey, I know someone who can
Yeah.
provide a service, and I'll do the rest.
Call you.
And I'll do the rest.
Oh, I love that.
Cool. Good?
I just thought, I
Thank you.
think ahead
Thanks,
of
guys.
homeschooling is in